Thank you. I'll try again. So now starts the actual parish council meeting. I have a statement to read out as usual. Members are reminded that council has a general duty to consider the following matters in the exercise of any of its functions: equal opportunities, race, gender, sexual orientation, marital status and any disability, crime and disorder, health and safety, and human rights. The public and press are cordially invited. Item number 1, present and apologies.
Before we do that, Jonathan, we just need to do the public discussion. Offer it to the public in case anybody wants to raise anything at this point in the meeting.
On that note then, if any of the public would like to raise an item for discussion.
You obviously knew that. Oh, Sue.
Oh no, we've got a Sue. You're on mute, Sue.
Unmute, right. We recently had traffic lights in the village, and thanks to Angela, I keep doing that, Jane, thanks to Jane, we found out when they were likely to be taken down. I was just surprised that in these circumstances, the highways do not have to give us any warning that they're going to go up. And a lot of people were bemused about what they were for. We obviously subsequently found out. But, you know, I just wondered if this is a general rule that these traffic lights that are privately organised can just suddenly appear.
The answer that I have to that, Sue, is that the traffic management company who were employed to provide those traffic lights, it is up to them to inform the parish council. They don't have to, but you would have expected them to.
Right.
And the people they were working for in the village, they were disappointed that the management scheme had not been in contact with us to let us know, and have apologised for the inconvenience it has caused anybody and the lack of information provided. Right.
Thank you, Jane.
But I believe they do have to inform the county council, but the county council is not obliged to tell us. Oddly.
Right. Anyway, I must say the council, Blair Turner, was also helpful, as Jane knows, and then Jane subsequently, as I've just said, found out when they were likely to be come and finish and the work completed. So thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Any other discussion items? No. Dare I move on? So, item number 1, present and apologies. Jane, have we had any apologies?
I had apologies from Alex Bishop, our police community support officer. That is all.
Thank you. Moving on, item number 2, the minutes. To approve the minutes of the meeting, the last meeting held on the 10th of March 2021. Can I have an approver? Oh, what's the expression I want to use? Nominator. Was that you, B?
Nominate.
Can I have a second as well on that?
Second it.
Thank you, David. And moving on to item number 3, matters arising from the minutes and raised by members. First item is the Pipple Pen Solar Farm project. Jane, I think you've got some information about this.
Just to say that I stay in close contact with Michelle Howley from Elgin Energy. They have submitted the planning application to Dorset Council. They are still waiting for verification and a planning reference. That was news as of yesterday. Elgin Energy are quite frustrated by the length of time they have had to wait, but will let us know as soon as there's any news.
Thank you. Item number 2, Britain in Bloom. B, I believe you've got an update for us.
I haven't actually met up with anybody, but I'm hoping to when things open up. Hopefully I'll have a more of an update next month, next time we have our meeting.
Okay. Item number 3. We have actually paid for the new notice board, haven't we, Jane?
We have not paid for the
Oh,
notice
not paid for it
board
yet.
because we're, although it's ordered, because we're a parish council, they obviously trust us, and we only have to pay when it's delivered.
Well, that's very nice of them.
Yeah, indeed. But it is on order.
Lovely, thank you. We do have a decision to make today, though, if possible. We need to get it installed, which means the old wooden notice board needs to be dug out and removed, and the new notice board cemented in. I believe we've got 2 options on the table. We have a quote from Dorset County Council to do exactly that, remove the old one, dispose of, and put the new one in. And they mentioned managing traffic and things, but I don't think that'll be an issue in the pound. And Councillor Jill Denny, I believe you also have a suggestion available to us, and you're on mute.
Right. Yeah, my husband, I've collared him, and he has agreed that if we can get a team together, he's happy to, you know, do it for free. Obviously, just the materials, but he needs some help. So getting the old, I think probably the main issue is getting the old one out, because it's going to involve digging out the concrete posts and then putting the new one back in. But he's more than happy to do that with some help.
Has he got any braking equipment? Do you know?
Braking equipment. I mean, I don't know what sort of how he's had a look at it, and I don't know. I mean, I shouldn't imagine there's an awful lot of concrete in the posts. I don't know, but I mean, he hasn't got specific braking equipment, but we've got sort of like mallets and bars and things.
Okay, I do have something medium size that will break concrete, but it rather depends.
Yeah.
Are we sure we would want it in exactly the same place or within? Because
it'd be easier to put it somewhere else, I should imagine, because you wouldn't have to get the old concrete out. You could just remove the posts. But that's me talking, not a man, not my husband.
No, and I don't know if we're obliged to dig out the old concrete. Martin, have you got any experience in this, or anybody at all got any experience in this?
Yeah.
I think it would be comparatively easy to get the old concrete out. I think a sledgehammer is the best implement to use.
Yeah, we've got one of those. And I should imagine it must be just like getting old fence posts out, the concrete that you use. So I mean, anybody with a bit of brawn can, you know, should be able to get it out.
Yeah. And you've got a list of volunteers already, I understand, haven't you?
Well, we've got a small list of volunteers. Largely people were volunteering for litter picking and not the heavy jobs, but you know, there's about 4 or 5 people on my list. Not as many as I would like, but maybe we can cajole a few more to help out.
Sorry, I should have phoned you as well to put my name down on the list, and I've got a few other people interested as well.
Yeah,
So,
I shouldn't imagine that we would want a load of people doing it, because too many cooks might, you know. But I don't know. Many hands make light work. Sorry, coming out with all these. But you know what I mean. If you have too many people, sometimes there's no direction. But if there's like 3 or 4, perhaps it might be a small team.
why don't we just agree then, once we've got the post, once we've got the new notice board, that we try and get a few people together and get it sorted then?
I think it'd be relatively easy if there was a few of you.
Yeah.
Just to give you an indication, the quote from Dorset Council was around the 500 mark, wasn't it, Jane? Just below.
Yeah, it was just underneath, wasn't it?
Yeah. So
I thought it was incredibly expensive, actually.
Yeah, everything to do with the council is expensive, isn't it? That's
all those salaries.
I know, they're terrible. So
it's run quicker as well.
Potentially, yeah, because they.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we What should we have a quick hands up if you think we should attempt this ourselves?
Yeah,
Yes, I think so.
yeah, in favour.
Yeah. Right. Well,
Joe, would you pass on our thanks to Mark for his kind offer? And we'll obviously be in touch. Maybe he could advise us to how many people he would like to help out.
Yeah, that's fine.
And from there we can get the team together, as BU says, once the notice board arrives.
Yeah, do you know if it comes,
please thank him very much.
okay, do you know if it comes with posts?
yes,
It does come with posts.
Yeah, so it's just like concrete for putting it, securing it into the ground that we would need to purchase then.
As far as I'm aware, yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay, I'll pass it on. He's in Yorkshire at the moment, but when he comes back, I'll let him know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And finally, the Lempsman, which kind of follows on from the last item. Jill, I believe you were going to give an update on this. Well, it's not so much.
Not
the Lempsman.
no,
I think it's more about the.
It was getting the volunteers. Yeah, say I've got a few volunteers, but B said he's got some more people that would be great. We can expand the list and then work on it. If more people see us going about doing things like the post, the notice board, I think perhaps they want to join in the community feel and getting things done for the village. That's what I'm hoping. Perhaps that's me just being too hopeful, but.
Can anybody remember? Did we put it in the pump and pound last time?
We did, and we put a little leaflet in as well.
Right.
But I think it was the usual suspects kindly replied to me. It's getting other people in the village more.
I think it's going to need the personal touch and actually just going around asking individuals, dragging them along. Because I spoke to a few people, and really I should have contacted you and put my name down as well. But I spoke to a few people even about moving the SIDS from one end of the village to the other, and they were saying, yeah, they'll give us a hand, they'll do that, on a rota, and they'll, so I'm sure we can get that sorted out.
Well, maybe I should go around with a clipboard and doing a bit of door knocking and introducing myself and see.
Do you know what? That would really work, because people like the personal touch. I think people get bombarded with leaflets through their door, and they sit on the sideboard for a little while, and then they end up in the recycling bin.
I know, I do that myself. You full of good intentions, and then time goes by and you just don't manage to do it. But if I go around with a bit of knocking on people's doors and introducing myself and saying, have you got any questions, would you be able to help?
Might even get a cup of tea out of it.
Pardon? Cup of tea?
Might even get a cup of tea out of it and a slice of cake.
Might be. I don't want to put any weight on. But I'll apply myself to that. I'll come up with a plan.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on to item number 4, reports from Dorset Councillor, police officers, river warden, and footpaths officer. The reports have all been forwarded to all the councillors, and they will appear in the minutes of this meeting. But Martin, do you have an update on the reservoir work?
Yes, Chairman, I do indeed. This really is the substance of my report, because the river warden role is very quiet at this time of year. But for my sins, I'm also Secretary of the Millennium Green Trust, and the Environment Agency have been consulting with the Millennium Green because of the effect of the works on the green itself. The main point is that they are hoping to start work very soon. And in my report, I mentioned the middle to the end of this month. I've had an email this afternoon to confirm that they're talking about the end of the month. And their first role is to make the site compound secure, which is Roger Legg's field at the end of the Engineers Road. But perhaps more importantly for the parish council and the village is the news that when work starts, the bridleway will be closed and there will be no diversion for the bridleway throughout the whole period of the works. So this will involve some liaison with the horse riders and possibly the British Horse Society. I'm not sure, but that news will have to be spread around to the horse riders. But the good news is that the footpath that currently runs through the Millennium Green, which will be affected by the proposals, will be diverted. Now, the information I have from the Environment Agency is that they will be notifying the public rights of way officer at Dorset Council, but I don't believe that they've actually notified them yet. I've been asking for a plan of the diversion route for the footpath. I've not yet received it. So this is going to cause quite a bit of inconvenience to the village because of the number of people who do walk that way and exercise their dogs. So at this present moment in time, I can't tell you where the diverted footpath will run. But I have scheduled a phone call with the Environment Agency on Friday morning, and I hope that there might be some more news then.
Thank you very much, Martin.
Any other questions?
Martin, have they said how long they're going to be doing the works?
Yes, it's likely to be towards the end of the year. I think it's sort of September, October time. A lot will depend on the weather.
Okay, thank you.
But it is quite a massive undertaking that will involve lorry movements through the village and along the Engineers Road. The contractor who's already been appointed is Kier, who are a well-known construction company. But I have to say there's very little information publicly available at present.
Have they said when they're going to start the work, Martin?
Yes, at the end of this month.
Okay, thank you.
Sue, quick question, you're on mute. You're on mute.
I was going to say, I will email my contact at Dorset County Council, who has been very helpful in the past. He is involved with all the mapping of the footpath, to see if he's got any further update, if you'd like me to. Well, I can do anyway.
Could you give me his details, Sue? Perhaps I can contact him as well.
Yes, that's fine. I'll send you.
I think the approach
email
will come from Kier, because I think that's their responsibility to sort out any.
Yes, but I'm just thinking, you know, to make him aware anyway, because I know with my liaison with him, he is very, very keen that, you know, as far as possible, all of the footpaths are kept open naturally, and maybe, you know, he can sort of, once the Environment Agency are contacted, you know, sort of make it clear it's quite urgent that we do have alternative routes for all the reasons you said. But I can certainly send you his details as well, and I'll email him myself.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from Martin? No? Thank you very much, Martin. I must apologise. I should have had Councillor Knox first, but she disappeared off my screen, and Martin was there, and you weren't there for a second, so I thought, oh, I'll give you a chance to sort your stuff out. But
Councillor Baker, I've been here listening all along, and thank you very much. And I don't mind which order you take us, because I think that what Martin does is really important for the village. Thank you. As your Dorset councillor, I have a little bit of a report, but I feel that I really need to, if this is all right with you, Chairman, just say thank you so much to David. I've been working with David since I was a little councillor in 2009, so that's a very, very long time. And I must say, I have really appreciated, whether he's been a member of the council or a resident, chairman, whichever position, I've appreciated the honesty that we've had as working together for promoting whatever the village has needed, and I'm really going to miss him. But I know, Councillor Baker, you're going to, inherit a fantastic working relationship, I hope, with Dorset Council and me. But thank you. You're the most delightful parish council to work with, and actually one of the ones who have got so much more engagement with residents that I have. I think Mosterton is pretty good, but you really are, you really feel for your area, and I think that's really, really important. But thank you, David. I'm going to miss you. I know you're not going far, and I know you're going to watch out for what we're up to. But welcome, Councillor Jonathan, as chairman.
Thank you.
Right. The most important thing that that still is for Dorset Council is ensuring that the services that Dorset Council provides, whether it's during a COVID period or not, are still online, and they are. We do have a severe budget problem because of it, but it's not stopping Dorset Council from ensuring that social care, and I know I go on about it all the time, social care is heading on. I used to say about 2/3. I'd say it's now heading on to 3/4 plus, actually plus the requirement from the budget that we get. So matters that you're discussing at a parish council level, you are hitting a lot of budget issues in the highways department, which are really, really stretched. And I really feel for the highways department, whether they're highways, rights of way, environment, really hitting it because of the social care implications. And that's not just adult social care, it's for all ages. And I think that there's an item which we will go on to, and I'll stay on for that, which is, of course, the Coach and Horses planning application, which again has really frustrated the village and has, according to COVID, almost meant that things could go forward potentially which they shouldn't have done, and that's really frustrating me. So from correspondence I've had with the previous chairman, so Councillor David Lyons, I'm going to go for a freedom of information request, because I don't think that I or you or from David have actually received the right, well, the full information that you might need as a parish council to go forward. But I'd be really interested to see what you discussed tonight on that issue. Well, I don't want to concentrate just on that issue because, of course, you've got issues to do with buses. Now, that hasn't arisen over the last year, obviously, because people aren't going on buses because they're not going anywhere, because they're isolating. But it's going to come out. You know, we've got the June date coming, and people are going to expect to do things which they haven't been doing for the past year or two. And I think that as a parish council, maybe you need a forward plan to think about that, about what you now need, which people haven't needed, but will want to have more in the future, and rights of way is one of them. But I'm here to take things forward. I am not somebody who just defends Dorset Council as my first sort of right of reply. I am absolutely there to take on head on any issues you do have. I can be critical. So I'm going to listen, and I'm here, and thank you. Any questions? I'm around, and I'm not just around during meetings. I'm on email and I'm on Zoom, and one day we can meet, which will be lovely.
Thank you. Any questions?
It's not a question, but it's just a thank you to Rebecca for her comments, and not just her comments, but over the years, tremendous support that we've received from her. And it's so useful to have someone that we can call on as an ally and friend to work with us, knowing that it's in the best interests of us all in the village. So thank you for that, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Okay. Sue, are you able to give a quick overview of the footpaths? You're on mute.
Well, as you know, I sent you a written report. As far as I'm concerned, because I'm very incapacitated still, I haven't been able to go on many of the footpaths, unfortunately. I have walked up the Engineers Road, though, to see what's going on top of the, well, what we call locally the dam, but the flood relief scheme. And I do know that when I met many of you walking around, that you are enjoying all of the footpaths, and I haven't had any sort of major issues that have been reported. However, in the Pump and Pounds in the next edition, I will be having an update of a direct contact with the council as well as through me. I mean, I'm more than happy to pass on any issues, but I thought it would be useful if people have a link themselves as well. I don't really think I've got a lot more to add at this stage, other than that a lot of the new people, and as we know that a lot of houses have changed recently, most of them have dogs, so I know that most of them will be using the footpaths and bridleways regularly. And as we said earlier, it's really important that when this work is done to the flood relief scheme, that we do find out how these footpaths are going to be diverted, or the footpath. I really don't think I have anything to add at this stage, unless anyone else has any questions to ask.
I've got, I don't know if this is the right place to raise it, but it's to do with a completely different footpath. It's the one opposite Picket Lane Farm. There's a pile of wood. Is it the permissive path that goes off to the left across the field?
Do you mean the one that goes up to Cheddington Lane, or the one that comes back down towards the flood reservoir and the Engineers Road?
No, it's the one that goes up towards Cheddington Lane across the field.
Right.
Yeah, it's not the footpath itself, but by the big pile of wood that they've got there, they did for a number of days, there was a big axe lying by the side of the road. I'd mentioned it to my husband, and my daughter had seen it as well, and I didn't think it was a particularly safe thing to do, to have a big axe lying by the side of the road, particularly by a footpath, but wasn't sure who to mention it to.
Well, that sounds, well, it will be the Leggs farm, Roger and Ian Legg, and I do have some contact details for them. How long ago was this? Was it very recently?
About a week ago.
About a week ago.
Yeah, yesterday when Mark and I walked up there, there was no axe, but it'd been by the side, it'd been by the wood pile for about a week.
Right. Well, we have been in touch with them before about a number of things, as those that have been here for a while will know, sometimes with little effect. But obviously, I'm more than happy. I do have, unfortunately, Roger, I'm not sure about him, but Roger Legg, who actually lives in the farmhouse up there, he's not on email.
No.
I only have a phone number, which they frequently or rarely seem to answer, but I will try and get in touch.
Yeah, we didn't know whether or not it would be actually a police issue, because Mark said that to buy an axe you have to be over the age of 18 anyway, so it could be something that you have to, you can't leave them lying around by law. I don't know, but we just didn't know enough about it.
No, well, it's not the best thing whether it's legal or not to have a big axe.
I mean, obviously most people wouldn't pick up an axe and run amok with it, but you never know, do you? You never know in this day and age.
Well, you never know. Anyway, I'm happy to try and get in touch with him and say, if you've got an axe on the road, perhaps he might consider putting it somewhere safer.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Stuart.
Just a matter for information, really, that the top end of Langmore Lane has been blocked for some weeks now with cuttings where they did their work on the hedges. Just to report that as of this morning when I walked up there, it has been cleared. It's not perfect, but you can walk down the lane now. So if people have been concerned about that, they no longer need to be, because it has been opened up.
Oh, good. Well, thank you for that, David. I think that was probably the legs again.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Sue.
Okay.
Okay, that brings us on to item number 5, the planning. Applications handled since last meeting is WDD 220-001-708. Coach and Horses Inn. David, I believe you've had some updates, and I believe you have Jane as well.
Yes, Jane and I both had communications with Katrina Trevitt, who's the team leader West and South for Planning and Community Services. She has expressed some concern over the planning application. It's inappropriate to go into details on that, but in broad terms, there are noise issues separating parts of the building. There is a question of what is called professional viability. That is to say, in order for an operation such as the Coach and Horses Hotel to be reduced in size, it has to be shown to be non-viable in its existing state. Now, that, as you can tell, is probably fairly complicated and requires a detailed justification from the owners of the premises involved. And the third area of some concern is what is termed poor amenity level. That's basically saying that Dorset has certain qualitative standards when it comes to new builds. And understandably, they want to ensure that any new building reaches certain environmental standards and other social standards. And there may be concerns over the plans for the Coach and Horses. Now, subsequent to the information that I received and Jane received from Katrina, a new planning application has been put in by the Coach and Horses. Now, I do strongly advise people, all villagers, to go onto the website and look at the new plans. We have until the 18th of May, so not a great deal of time to have a look at it, absorb it, and make comments about it, because we've got to start. I wouldn't say we've got to start all over again. That's not true, and it's not fair. But we do have the opportunity to look at this latest proposal and examine it in some detail. Now, I haven't had long to have a look at it, but one of the things that has changed is that the planning application now is for one dwelling and not for 2. Now, this seems to me to be ambiguous. Does that mean that the other dwelling is Riverview Cottage, or is the other dwelling a Coaching Corner? I don't know is the simple answer, and we need to be told. The other issue is the fact that if you look on the plans, the bow window, which is currently used to be the bar, if you remember the lounge bar, the bow window, is now divided so that there is a door there. So that means that there'll be a main hotel entrance and there will be a door into Coaching Corner, which is designated the manager's accommodation. Now, that seems to me to suggest that that's a totally separate and independent entity. And it doesn't tie in with my idea of what the manager's accommodation should be. Now, that's something that you might want to look at. In addition, a number of windows have been created, one to the right of the existing main entrance, and instead of the arrow slot windows, which are along the roadside, they are planning to change those to, as I understand it, normal size windows. I'm not altogether clear on that. Now, some of those things are neither here nor there, but it does seem to me that the goalposts are constantly moving, and we've got to move with them, basically, because we've got to keep scoring the goals. And that means that each time a new plan comes along, we've got to examine it, we've got to evaluate it, and in my personal opinion, I think we've got to object to it. And I would respectfully suggest to the council that we vote on that now, and I will volunteer to act as whatever term you might like to call it. If and when I resign from the council, I will no longer have a voice. But what I can do is, because I've, as you know, dealt with this issue over the last year and a bit, I've now acquired a vast store of knowledge on the subject, which I'm more than happy to share with you. So I don't know whether you need to make this a formal thing or not, or whether it's allowable, but I am going to resign as a councillor, but I am quite happy to retain a role as a consultant, or whatever you like to call it, in order to help you to make submissions. It will not be my submission, I emphasise, it will be your submission, but I'd be quite happy to go through the detail and help out if and when I can. So that's my proposal. My proposal is that we object, and secondly, that I help you with that objection.
Can I answer that in 2 parts, but the other way around? I would be very grateful if you would act in a consultancy capacity. The knowledge you've built up in the last 18 months is going to take a little while to get handed over, and I don't want a dead stop, because I would hate to have to cold start this again. So I'd be very, very grateful, unless any of the other councillors have anything to say. No. Good.
I'm quite happy with David helping us and taking it forward.
Yeah, I'm very grateful for that.
Okay, thanks.
And on the whether or not we should approve it or reject, my view is I would reject at this stage.
Yeah, I agree.
But I do need to go through and kind of make that a more formalised response, because the update's quite recent, and like yourself, David, I'm a bit concerned about why a part of the Coaching Corner, which has got now got its own entrance out onto this outside entrance, how's that not a dwelling?
Indeed.
To me, it looks like a dwelling, and there's another dwelling at the back. So how can it be one dwelling? And as you rightly said, I would expect a manager's flat or accommodation to be accessed from inside. So I object. B, Jill?
Yeah, I agree.
Yes,
I object.
yeah.
Okay, well, we'll minute that as an objection or rejected. Decisions notified by Dorset Council since the last meeting. I haven't seen any. Jane, there hasn't been any late ones, has there?
No, they haven't.
No. New applications to be considered again, unless there's been a late runner.
No,
None.
nothing's coming.
Tree applications, we have 3 of those. I've been trying to learn what does and doesn't require a tree permission, but it doesn't seem all that clear to me. But the Baker's Arms consent not required. Apparently the tree is dead already, or majorly dead, so it's covered by a section 14 consent. The Baker's Arms approved. The second one was a cutting back, and the Coach and Horses was approved. Do we have any further information on that one?
Just to say that they visited just last week. It was visited by the case officer, Mr. James Bennett, and he approved the work. He said that the trees were sufficiently damaged and badly pruned that he would approve the work. He doesn't think the work would be seen as a detriment to the amenity of the local area. So their recommendation was no objection to the work, and the work has to be carried out within 2 years. One thing that did come up about this was that when this tree application went in or went up on the Dorset Council website, even though I saw it on the day it went up, it was not possible to make a comment. It said that the application was closed. So I did contact the tea tree about this, and they have acknowledged there is a fault with the computer system at the moment, so that people cannot make comments on these applications. They are doing their best to sort it out, but as of this afternoon, it was still not working correctly. So their advice at the moment is to send an email to their team, and I can supply the address for that. If there's anybody who's unhappy with the decision about the Coach and Horses work, because they couldn't make a comment online, and if you could let me know or pass the message on, and I will provide the address for people to write to Dorset Council, because although it's been approved, I think they might have a case because they could not comment at the time. I'll put that in the minutes, but if you would like to pass that on to anybody who is concerned, and let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. And other planning matters. We have 2. The field at the western end of the village, and work being undertaken by at Hunter's Hatch. Jane, I think you've got an update on this as well.
Just to say, I've managed to find out that the enforcement officer is a man called Paul Bignell, and it would appear that he is the planning enforcement officer for everything within South Perrott, because he was the one who was going to come on board to look at the work in the Coach and Horses car park, but he never came because they began to dismantle it. But he is responsible for these 2 applications or inquiries about them, and he is coming out tomorrow to visit both sites, and he has promised to feed back what he finds. What is really useful is to have an actual name for this, so that and an email and telephone number, so that we can keep in contact with him. So as soon as there's any news, I will let you know what he has to say.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions about either of those 2 items? No. Okay, moving on to number 6, highways updates. Picket Lane, the A356 junction. I think it was mentioned earlier, wasn't it, by David, I think.
Yeah.
We are waiting on the new yellow markings. I think because it was in a late wet spring, they're unable to get the lines down. I believe that is coming soon. We've received the SID. It's on a pallet around the back of my house. It's considerably bigger than I was expecting. So when they dropped it off at curbside, it was a bit of a wrestle, I'll be honest. And we're waiting on a date from the highways to fit that. Is that correct, Jane?
That is correct. The work order is in, so we're just waiting for the date.
And I think B mentioned it, that we're looking for volunteers to then move said sign every 6 weeks. Well, I think it's not move, is it? I think have we still only got one post? We have, haven't we? Or did we go for two up on that hill?
Posts.
Oh, there's
There
two
will
up
be
on.
posts.
Yeah, okay. So it is a move then.
I believe that Dorset Council will provide a training programme as to how to move this thing. So when I have more information, maybe you and I can liaise to get the team of volunteers together so we can attend at some form of training session to get some people involved. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, very. B?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And Jill?
Because I think what we need is someone to be overall responsible to run the team of volunteers. So I don't know if there's a council prepared to take that on. Maybe it's one for you, B, that you could get this team of volunteers and do that for us.
Yeah.
That'd be great if you would.
I'll
Yeah,
try and get some more.
Right. Okay, well,
Fantastic.
thank you, B.
Thank you both.
Okay, and moving on to item 7, correspondence. Jane.
The normal run of correspondence, quite a lot about the coach and horses. We've obviously had the annual governance and accountability return, various planning applications, bank statement, but nothing out of the ordinary that hasn't been passed on to any of the councillors.
Thank you. And item 8, finance. You as councillors will all have received a financial, the latest financial statement. Just ad-libbing a bit here. Would it help to put that on the council website?
Yes, it would. So maybe when we post the minutes, we could also post the financial status each month as well.
Okay, I'll get that done.
It'd be good for transparency to have it up there, Jonathan.
We are spending historically more than we used to, quite a bit. So I think it'd be useful to see, not that we're just spending, that we're spending well, and we're making some good decisions about the parish. So I'd like to get that up there so people know we're actually spending their precept correctly. And finally on that, finance, the signatory for payments. I have a proposal which I'd like a bit of a vote on, really. At the moment, Jane has to ask somebody else to raise a payment, and then the payment then has to be authorised. It seems a little strange that Jane can't initiate a payment, not approve it, but she has to pass all the details, the recipient and the bank account details of the recipient and the sort code and all of that information, when I'm sure she's quite capable and willing to do it herself, and there's less chance of an error creeping in, you know, emails flying around, copying and pasting and all of that. So my proposal is Jane is, I can get Jane authorised to set up a payment to a supplier or the council or whatever, and we then authorise that payment. So you've still got a bit of integrity, a lot of integrity there. It still has to be approved. Jane can never individually decide to pay someone. And I was wondering if anybody had some views on that.
I think that's a good idea, actually. Like you said, Jonathan, it'll save all the emails flying around and doing what Jane has asked in the first place anyway. And Jane's got all the information in front of her.
Yeah. Okay.
I strongly support that. I think the only reason why we didn't do it in the first place was because of how much work Jane had to do anyway. But on reflection, it's probably more work getting somebody else to set the thing up and get another person to authorise it than do it as you suggest for her in the first place, from her in the first place. Yeah. So I strongly support that. Yeah.
Thank you, David. Jill, do you have any?
Yeah, no, that seems
good.
very sensible.
Okay, we'll work at making that, if we can, possible, because Lloyds have not been the most responsive bank.
Do you need to vote on that?
Do we need to vote
I think
on
we
that?
should just
Oh, yes.
make
Can we just have a show of
absolutely
hands?
clear.
Or who
Show of
agrees?
hands. Thank you all.
And finally, matters of report and items for the next meeting. I haven't got anything at this point. Jane, do you have anything?
The only thing I have is that at the next meeting, we need to consider whether we need to have what's called a village meeting. Now, this is something that is normally done. Well, it can be done any time during the year, to be honest, but quite often it's done prior to the AGM. But because of lockdown, because people haven't been out and about, it felt better to leave it until the next meeting, which will be in July. And the idea is it's a general meeting for people to raise any issues they have to do with the village. And if there's any groups that are working, maybe the gardening group, or I don't know what else you've got in South Perrott, who will give a report on the workings of that, or what's been going on with that particular group. So I don't know if that's something you feel we should have, and whether July is too early, because again, not many people have been out and about. So whether we need to push it even further down the year, just your thought, or whether you don't want to have one. We don't absolutely have to. I think it's a good idea, but it's very much your call on this one.
My view is, and it's only my view, is July seems a little early. The village won't really have woken up at that stage. I think if we could push it back to September, possibly, that might be a better time. It'll give us a little bit more time to get people invited and over to consider. Oh, Councillor Knox.
Thank you, Chairman. I know I shouldn't be talking at this stage, but I really think what you've just said, Chair. I think people are still really wary about meeting in a place, a confined place. I actually proposed an amendment Dorset Council last night, which said that we should continue to pursue the government anti-government decision about everybody having to meet in public. I am absolutely for the continuation of Zoom meetings and the decision for those of you who are part of parish councils and councils and Dorset Council to decide whether they can attend a meeting in person. I'm really for the continuation of the Zoom meeting. I think it absolutely encompasses transparency and the ability to attend. So I know that the legislation now says that you as a council have to meet in person. I hope it changes, but I would welcome, if you want to, I will fight for the cause, and I will continue to do that. That actually, whether you have a village meeting, which is basically what this is, to be able to do it via Zoom. And it's up to people whether they attend or not. I think it's people's choices. That's where I am. I really think it's up to people. I think that people are going to feel very different about social distancing and attending public meetings, but they have a right to. So I am pursuing the hybrid proposition. And if your council can approve or consider the hybrid, and therefore, as part of your meeting tonight, agree or not agree that a hybrid would be a good way forward, that'd be really helpful.
I think I have to declare a slight interest here. I work for the council, as I've said before. I think the decision by the government to force everybody into a room is premature, and I know it's causing problems back at County Hall because we can't get everybody in the rooms. And I understand that people haven't been locked down for over a year will be unwilling to attend the meetings. However, I think it's important for those people who don't have the technology or are unwilling to use the technology to be able to be included as well. So I think I agree with Rebecca if what I've interpreted is right, is I propose that we would go to a hybrid solution whereby we have a village, we meet in the village hall, but also enable Zoom so that people can follow along and watch the meeting remotely if that's what they would prefer. How do other people think on that?
Strongly support that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
I think that's great, Jonathan.
It makes the technology a little trickier because there's not great internet over at the village hall, so I'll have to work on that one again. But yeah, so I think I would rather do a hybrid one. I think that gets around the issue of if the councillors are all in the room, the parish council at least, we can distance if you feel that's appropriate. But I think it just makes it more accessible. People probably don't want to have to walk to the village hall in November and sit in the village hall and then have to walk home. They probably hop on and with a quick Zoom and watch it that way. I noticed Marion is always a regular attender. I don't know what she just dashed off to, but and she didn't. I don't believe she used to attend physically, I can say. So
Correct.
Yes. So if we can technically get the hybrid solution in, are we in agreement on that one?
Yes, we'll vote on that one, please.
Yeah. So
I propose hybrid. Yeah.
Yeah, same.
I agree. Lovely.
Fantastic. Thank you all.
Thank you, Rebecca. And where do we get there?
So, Jonathan, can we just go back then to the village meeting where we went off track a little?
Sorry.
So we need to decide whether, when and where, not where, when and where we'd like to hold this.
Well, yeah, sorry. I suggested September, but if it's a hybrid one, I still think it needs a chance for the village itself to wake up. So the clubs need to get going again. People the groups that need to meet up, so they've got something to feed back.
September would be better for the clubs to have a chance of meeting. I don't think any other clubs are meeting at all at the moment, or any of the activities are going on that they sort of perform, if you like. So to expect someone to come along in July to give a talk on something that's not been going on will be difficult for them. So September might be a lot better.
Okay, shall I propose September and we have a quick vote?
Thank you. Thank you all.
Am I right in thinking, I'm not sure, the village meeting isn't actually a parish council?
Correct.
Is it? I mean,
correct. You're right, David. It's not.
No.
It's just that it's always sort of been done by the parish council, but it is not actually the responsibility of the parish council.
Which makes me wonder whether we are entitled to a vote or
I
say
see.
It's a good question. Yeah.
We got the de la Poors here. They're sort of. I thought they might be able to make a helpful contribution here. Can you unmute yourself and say something about this? This is their first time, I think. It's usually the top right-hand side, one of the... Oh, Martin's going to say something. Yes, Martin.
Can I just clarify, Chairman, that the village meeting is completely separate from the parish council, but it has to be chaired by the chairman of the parish council. And any matters or any decisions that are taken at the village meeting then have to be referred to the next parish council meeting. So although it is completely independent from the parish council does have an involvement. And it gives the villagers an opportunity to raise issues that are not raised at the parish council, because obviously the parish council only considers items that are on the agenda, whereas in the village meeting there is no agenda. Anything can be raised and discussed.
That's really helpful.
Can I just ask how often the village meetings are?
Once a year.
Okay, Sue, I'll come to you in a second, Sue. Dominique?
Well, I agree with what Martin has said. It's a way of feeding information from the village through to the parish council in a slightly less formal way, which is less inhibiting for some people.
Have we had them before? Because I've been here 5
so we've
years.
had them, yes, every year, usually about 10 days before the AGM, parish council AGM. And in the past, it's been chaired by the chair of the parish council, and the minutes usually taken, well, whoever can be arm twisted into taking the minutes, often Angela. Yes, so, and it's been well advertised just with a flyer and to all the households and on the notice board.
Okay. Thank you. Do you have anything to add, Sue? I'll quickly unmute you.
Well, just to say, I mean, if there are any major decisions to make, because obviously the village meeting doesn't have any budget as such, and that's where they're referred to the parish council, but things like the village clean-up and those type of activities don't have to be approved by the parish council. We have always in the past agreed those sort of things at the village meeting. And I know that a number of you have attended those in the past, you know, including David. So clearly there are major decisions, and as a point of information, obviously it's always fed into the parish council, and any big, as I say, any big capital or other decisions have to be made by the parish council themselves.
Okay.
But we can make small decisions on the type I've just mentioned.
Okay, well, that's good. Okay, shall we try and get that? I guess by dint of that, would the parish council have to also kind of advertise it and organise it? Or
Sorry?
I assume that the parish council have to organise that and get it in a diary and get it advertised.
Well, not really, no. With village cleanups in the past, we've advertised them through the pump and pound.
No, but the village meeting
that way. But I mean, there's no reason why the parish council necessarily weren't involved. But if everybody said they were happy to volunteer,
okay, thank you, Sue. Councillor Knox.
I'm just trying to sort of unwind this discussion. That there is a meeting that has to be held or can be held about the parish. It is a parish meeting. It is not something which should be directed by the parish council. It is about the people of the parish, and they should decide it. But the practicality of the whole thing for years and years and years has been that actually the only way it ever gets organised is because the chairman of the parish council and the parish councillors organise it. But the agenda of that can be set by members of the public. So there is all you need to do, Chairman, is call a meeting of the parish. That is your role,
but anyone can put anything on that agenda. It's just been that no one, quite frankly, has bothered to organise anything else. So it is in your position as leader of the parish council to organise the parish council meeting. But if anyone says to you, I want something on the agenda, then that is for you to accept, because it is their meeting.
Okay.
No one else can control it.
Okay, thank you very much. That's very useful.
I mean, it can be a really good thing.
I hope so. We might get...
In loads of other areas, you get if you take Mosterton, for instance, or Broad Windsor, they get all the groups in the villages to come along and say what they're doing, whether they're schools or the WI or whatever organisation they're representing within the community. It is the parish's meeting, but Chairman, you are the one who facilitates that, no one else.
Thank you. We will. Okay. Moving on, the next agenda item is the date of the next meeting.
The second Wednesday of July is Wednesday the 14th of... Oh, sorry, Martin.
Chairman, can I just go back to matters of report and items for the next meeting, please?
Yes.
Can I suggest that we have South Perrott Reservoir as an agenda item, because obviously a lot is going to happen, and it's really going to be on a similar basis to the solar farm project. So if it could be an agenda item on its own, then I could report there rather than cobbling it on to the River Warden report.
I think that'd be a good idea. Do others agree? There certainly will be a lot more activity than the solar farm at present, so I think that would be very useful. Can you add that, Jane? Thank you.
Yes, certainly.
So the second Wednesday in July is the 14th, 7:30.
Yeah.
And do we want to make a decision at this point whether or not we attempt to make it, well, we have to either make it a hybrid or we have to have it in person. At the moment, we can't, correct me if I'm wrong, Councillor Knox, we can't have it purely Zoom.
Chairman, sadly, the government is saying no.
Yeah.
But I have so in favour of doing hybrid. There is a way you can get around this, which is what Dorset Council agreed last night, which you can delegate the sort of decisions if you do a minded to decision and delegate it to the chairman. But
Okay,
that's what the council have done.
I'll see if I can get the, yeah, I'll see if I can get the hybrid solution working. I think that would cover both aspects of that. Thank you. And I've got an item here, public discussion to raise items for the future agendas. Go on, Sue. Unmute.
Well, it's not for a future agenda. It's actually to say the date of the pump and pound, which I should have perhaps said earlier. Could I please have items either to Dave or I by the 21st of this month, 21st of May, and that's to cover June and July's issue. So that's a point of information.
Lovely, thank you. Any other items? In which case I shall call the meeting to a close. Thank Thank you, everybody. Oh, no, sorry, Councillor, did you want to come back?
There's just two things I want to do, which is that I want to do a FOI on the coach and horses, a really big one, which I'm going to do. So I'd like to get that noted in the minutes.
Okay.
Noted.
And just another really good sort of thank you to David Lyons.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't go away too soon.
I shall haunt you.
I know you will.
Okay.
But thank you.
Thank you. So thank you, everybody, and have a good evening, and thank you for a good meeting.
Thank you, Jonathan. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Jonathan.
Good night.
Jonathan.